Hello, everyone. Welcome to Storytime. Here at Storytime, we read stories for children and for the entire family. And at the end, we share valuable life lessons learned from the story. In today's story, we decided to look at a different culture story. We're going to read a story about the Zen Master and his dog. Welcome to Storytime with Miss Dymond. I am Miss Dymond, and I'm excited to bring you today's episode. In this episode, we are reading the story of the Zen Master and his dog, which talks about following the signs. Here at Storytime, we've been reading a lot of stories by Aesop's Fables. I thought it might be interesting to check out a story from a different culture, a different religion, and see what lessons they have to offer. Before we get started, here are a few quick reminders. Remember to hit the subscribe button and then click on the notification bell so that you will be a part of the Storytime family and see when new videos are posted. If you don't mind, please give a thumbs up and post a comment. Let me know your thoughts and let me know that you are liking or disliking these stories. And lastly, but certainly not least, consider donating to Storytime with Miss Dymond to support this channel's full-time work in creating stories and writing books for children of all ages. Are you ready? Let's get started. Today's vocabulary word is guidepost. Guidepost is a compound word made up of the words guide and post, spelled Guidepost. A guidepost is something that serves as a guide or an example or a guideline. So in this story, let's listen for the word guidepost and see what guideline is being explained to us. So let's read the Zen Master and his dog. The Zen teacher's dog loved his evening play with his master. The dog would run ahead of his master to fetch a stick and then run back, wag his tail, and wait for the master to throw the stick again. On this particular evening, the teacher invited one of his brightest students to join him on his walk and playtime with his dog. This boy was so intelligent, he often became troubled by the contradictions in the Buddhist doctrine. And as a note, oftentimes religions have contradictions in their doctrine. In the Christian Bible, it may say one thing in this scripture, but something else in another scripture which seems contradictory. So this student was having some trouble with those. You must understand, said the Buddhist teacher, that words are only guideposts. Never let the words as symbols get in the way of finding your truth. Here, I'll show you. And with that, the teacher called his happy dog. His dog came running over, and he says to his dog, he threw up his arm and pointed and said, "Go fetch me the moon." And then he turned to his bright student and said, "What is the dog looking at?" The student answered, "Well, he's looking at your finger." Exactly. Don't be like my dog. Don't confuse the pointing of the finger with the thing that is being pointed at. In all of our words, they are only guideposts. Every person must fight his way through religions, through doctrines, and through other people's words to find their own truth inside. And that is the end. What did you think about that? So let's see what might be the truth in this story for us. The moral or the lesson in the story is, don't look at my finger, look at what I am pointing to. Find your own truth in the direction that you're being pointed toward. So this relates to a lot of different things, and just for simplicity, let's relate it to children and parenting. As children, you're going to receive a lot of advice from your parents, from your teachers, just from people older than you. And they're going to tell you their stories. They're going to tell you a story in a book. Even here at Storytime, we tell lots of stories for that very purpose. And what we're suggesting is maybe not always take it literally, but listen to the story and say, what do I get out of that for me? How is that, here's a big word, how is that resonating with me? How is that sitting with me? And when I hear this, what am I hearing on the inside of myself? What am I hearing that confirms something I already know in my heart or in my head? So that's the idea of this story. Listen to the words. Read your sacred texts, whether it's the Bible or the Torah or various books out there that are helpful for you. And then sit, think, ponder, and see what the truth is for you. Too often we as parents, we try to have our children fit into a mold. And oftentimes it's the mold that was used on us when we were growing up. We know what cookie cutter is. You have a tin shaped like a star, let's say, and you put that in the dough, and every time it's going to give you that same star made the same way. Children are not do not fit into cookie cutter molds. They are all very unique, and we have to realize this as we try different approaches with raising our children. There are a lot of sayings out there that might encourage us to use a cookie cutter approach. The apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And oftentimes they may look like their parents, they may gesture like their parents, sound like their parents, and oftentimes have the same ideology as their parents do. Even with that, it's important that we allow them to be themselves and not force our own experiences upon our children as expectations. We should not expect them to go through the same things that we went through, or react the same way, or experience the world like we did. So here are some examples. My parents both had good government jobs, and I heard that a lot growing up. Get a good government job, you'll be fine, that is your security. And I would venture to say that that's pretty much the way it was. If you had a good government job, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, it was solid. You were there until retirement, and you retired with a nice pension. And that worked well. So when those parents tried to put that same thing on their children, my generation, well, it may not have worked the same way, because oftentimes those pensions were no longer available. People job hopped too frequently, and even if you tried to stay in a job for 20 years, there'd be some sort of layoff or something to turn over the talent. So the whole paradigm was just different. I loved performing growing up. I know that comes as a big surprise, but it's true. I really loved acting, I loved modeling, I loved singing, I loved dancing. But to my parents, those were not worthy of a career choice. And they both encouraged me, mom and dad, to get that good government job and be secure. They encouraged me toward a logical major, business, the sciences, so that I could have security. And I know why they did it, and they did the very best at parenting that they could at the time. But as we grow and expand, we want to encourage our children to express and pursue their best gifts and talents and not expect them to do things the way we did it. And I also see that oftentimes the masculine disciplines that are logical or more pushed are those are the ones that oftentimes pay the higher income: sciences, engineering, mathematics. Whereas oftentimes the creative, the more feminine disciplines that require creativity, intuition, more abstract, are not seen quite as breadwinner or professional type of pursuits. And that's something for a different day, where we can talk about that and how we need to bring a more balance between feminine energy and masculine energy. But that's another tangent. Back to what we're saying here. Another example would be if you played sports as a kid and you had a big sports playing family. You're going to expect your kids perhaps to play a sport. It's like, pick a sport. What do you want to do? Baseball, basketball, football. Because we play sports in this family. And that's okay. And if your child wants to do that, great. They will fall right in line with the family dynamic. But just take note if your child really doesn't want to play sports, if they are more sensitive or more gentle, or sports is just not their thing. Or on the feminine side, all the girls in the family may be given dance lessons. I remember that was a big thing growing up. Where are you going for dance class? Are you taking ballet, jazz, tap? A lot of my girl friends had to participate in dance class. And again, it's okay if that's what the child also wants to do. I'm just suggesting that you be open to allow them to express themselves in ways that they may want to. So, growing up, my mother always wanted to learn how to play the piano, and she never did. She was never given piano lessons, and she was not too happy about that. Then, life comes on, she's working, and she never took piano lessons. Well, you know how that translated? All of her kids had to take music lessons. Now, we could say that was perhaps somewhat satisfying to her, and she felt like she was giving her kids an opportunity that she never had. But maybe that was an opportunity that her kids didn't want. That may be a reality. And it may have been better to say, you know what, kids, I always wanted to take piano lessons. I never learned to play the piano. But I don't want you to not get the lessons that you want. Is there anything that you really want to learn? That might be a better approach than forcing music lessons on kids that may not even be interested in taking music lessons. So that's a thought. Ask them, talk to them about what they enjoy, doing, what they may want to pursue. And just be careful that we are speaking to them and expressing to them their uniqueness rather than putting on old expectations onto a new generation. Because we really don't want to stifle their growth if they want to discover a different path. We don't want them to say, my mom gave me music lessons, but I really love handwriting and I wish she would have given me calligraphy lessons. I told her I love handwriting and I want to learn how to write really well and I want to take calligraphy. But she kept saying, oh, that's old. No one writes anymore. Everybody types. But this person had inside of them the desire to write fancy letters and invitations and loved the art of calligraphy, just as an example. Now, it is also true that our children will also pick up and absorb whatever they see around them. So if your family is a big sports family, it's going to be natural that they want to gravitate towards sports. And that's fine. Let's just make sure that if they don't, we don't beat them up about it. We don't down them for it or make them feel badly because they don't have a sport of their choice. They may want to play games instead. They may love a good game of chess. And that's okay because there's some great skills to be had in learning the game of chess just as there are in learning the game of basketball or what have you. Another dynamic that might exist in your family would be the family business. Let's say if you've had a lot of businesses in your family with your parents and your siblings, you were a group of entrepreneurs and you've had a lot of businesses that you started or that your sister started or your brother started and that failed. I mean, several really great ideas but just didn't take off because of timing or what have you. You may be tempted to say to your kids if they want to start their own business, sweetie, let me just save you the pain, the hard work, and the heartache. Most businesses end in failure. Do you know how many businesses this family started that just ended in failure? Trust me, go to school, learn how to do something well, and get paid well. That might be your well-intended advice to keep your child from making the same mistakes that you made. Here's a thought. before you steer them away from something that they want to do because you failed or because you know people that failed, just consider preparing them and arming them for what they want to do so that they don't have the same pitfalls and failures that your family or your friends may have had. So in that same example, if they're saying, I don't want to go to college, I really want to start this business, I really want to start working right away. Rather than telling them, no, you can't do that, no, you shouldn't do that, no, you need a job, perhaps you could say, well, what is it that you really want to do? And if you really want to do this, how can we best prepare you to do what you want to do? Because when you do that, you're giving them incentive to want to succeed. Because we all want to do and have a right to pursue our own happiness. So that child has it in them to pursue a certain road in a certain way. And as parents, perhaps our job is to guide them in the way that they want to go. Now, of course, being reasonable, this is assuming that they want to do something that is good, that is honorable, that is legal, and that helps the world in some way. And if that is the case, let us help them to do that in a way that is excellent, in a way in which they can be prepared to do even a better job than our generation did. We often look at another's blueprint for success, and if it works for them, we say, well, it can work for us. By golly, if they did it and made $1,000 a week, I could do it and make $1,000 a week. That may or may not be so. We have to look at their blueprint as being specific to their environment. Did they have the money, the resources, the naturally good looks, the deep pockets to make their blueprint a reality? That may be very different to my situation where I may not have the support, the resources, the good looks, the great body, or what have you, to make that particular blueprint come true. And it is tempting when we see a lot of get-rich-quick schemes that talk about how you do this, this, and this, and off you go to infinite abundance. Let's just be careful of that. Because while they are great for drumming up a lot of excitement, that steam may wear off very quickly if we are not geared toward that. So we want to look at our own selves, go internal, see what makes sense for us, and then allow our own minds and hearts to come up with a blueprint that is good and personalized and unique for ourselves or perhaps for your child that you are raising. So how does this all tie back to the Zen Master and his student? The lesson there is, don't just blindly follow the leader. When he tells the dog, go fetch the moon, well, we know the dog doesn't really know what he means, but he's looking at his finger because he's looking for a stick to be thrown somewhere. He's saying, don't be like the dog and just go running after the stick. He's saying, take a look inside. See what your stick may be for you. Craft your plan that is specific for you and follow yourself. So what I get from the Zen Master, don't necessarily always follow the leader, but follow yourself. Well, I really hope you enjoyed that episode of Storytime. I know I sure did. And if this is something you like, if we can switch up and perhaps look at some stories from other cultures, let me know. And if these Storytime episodes are blessing you, please share the love and share the energy with other people that you think may benefit this, and also consider a donation to support this full-time work of bringing these stories to you, as well as the books for children that Miss Dymond is writing. I love everyone here so very much. Thank you so much for being here today. Big virtual hug to everyone listening. See you next time on the next episode. Bye-bye.